I just enjoyed really immersing myself in it. Like one of my favorite places is to be like top of a mountain, and I always feel the most peaceful and stress-free when I see a vast space. My brains think best when they're left alone, to be bored, to do nothing. I've had my best ideas in the shower or the toilet.
Welcome to the Leeds Creative Folk podcast, where some of the most interesting and influential figures from the Leeds creative scene share what drives their creativity and what it means to be part of the Leeds Creative Village. My guest for this episode is Andrew Beniston, co-founder of Tungsten Media and one of the North's pioneers of AI-powered virtual production. We talk about how AI can free us creatively, the power of getting outdoors, and how his virtual production setup gave him the ultimate movie nights. Were you creative as a kid?
I think so. It's interesting. It depends what you say is creative, I guess. You know, I think instantly, most people would think, did you draw? Did you do arts? Did you do that sort of stuff? And I always remember that feeling of like, whatever I did, I just enjoyed really immersing myself in it. And it was mostly about arts and instruments and piano, guitar, that sort of thing. So I don't remember too much kind of scribbling and drawing. My granddad was a painter. So, you know, he kind of always wanted me to learn that sort of stuff. So a little bits here and there.
Yeah, I think, you know, as a kid, creativity, there's lots of different kind of versions of it, isn't there? I was never any good at drawing or painting or anything like that, which my siblings were. But I was definitely creative, but I mainly that just involved me creating little worlds in my own head. You know, that's a form of being really creative, I think, as a kid. And that's played into the work that I do now in lots of ways.
I think what you said is like super important, like just giving kids the chance to be creative in that sense, playing games, just having imaginary friends, all that sort of stuff. I think as a society, there's so much we restrict on ourselves as we get older to be a certain way and not to be what would be classed as not normal. And it's great to let kids do that. So I agree. There's many ways to be creative in that sense.
Can you remember what was your first creative endeavor? What was the first thing that you kind of made or did that you would say, this was me being creative?
If I was to, again, say creativity being like applying myself to something that required my brain and getting into that, let's say, flow state. I was really into, it's thanks to my more older brother, to be honest, I was really into coding and web development. That's what I did before film. I think I was like 12 years old. I created a game website, like a text-based crime game. It was called Try or Die. And you log into the game, you play this game, you get stats levels, and you have to do certain jobs for people, and you can trade money. And I ended up making this entire fun game. And that really was the first time I'd really got my brain immersed into like coding and enjoying and taking an idea and like turning it into reality. It took me actually all the way to the last rounds of the Child Apprentice, Apprentice Junior.
Oh wow!
So using that was like, the first question they asked was like, "What makes you an entrepreneur?" And using that was the first thing that got me through the door into the next part of stages as well.
That's very cool, though.
It was fun.
So was that for you? Was it a sort of technology challenge or a kind of like a creative challenge more, or were those two not separate? It was just, I want to make this thing.
I think I've got, as most of us creatives are, I've got quite a fantastical brain in terms of like thinking and ideas and always, visioning. And it was basically giving me a conduit to express an idea that I thought would be fun and good. It's like I enjoyed games as a kid and I had friends that enjoyed it. And I was like, wow, what if we could create a world that we could all play in and we could all mess around in? And I was given, like I said, this conduit to use code, and my brain seemed to click and enjoy that, like putting all the words and figuring the logic of how's this going to sit, how's this function going to work, all that sort of stuff. And then bit by bit, breaking the code down, working through the errors, and then seeing the page pop up live and be like, oh my God, like that's working. And like, can I do this? Oh no, it breaks. Okay, let's figure that one out. Like what creators would say, like it's the problem solving that really engages your brain into doing something.
Definitely. Yeah, I really relate to that. So how did you get from there to filmmaking?
When I was about 18, me and my friend started a YouTube channel. It's still there, actually, if you scurry it out. I was still always doing coding, lots of coding, but we were filming the videos and we were enjoying it. And they were terrible, but again, we were just making stories and having fun and just having a laugh. So it kind of was like, did a little bit of filming there, but kind of did a bit of a hiatus, went to university, was a student, still doing lots of web coding, enjoying that. And then at university, I met my business partner, Simon, and he was another person that could see he was quite skilled, like could work pretty well. And just here and there was like, oh, I've got this freelance job I'm doing. Do you want to join? And the other way around as well. And just did a few more jobs here and there. Then somebody recommended us to work for an agency and just do like freelance for them and do a few things. And they saw how good the work was. And we kind of sat there and was like, like pretty good at this. Like, should we maybe do a partnership? You've got a really good set of skills. I've got a really good set of skills. Should we try that together? And that was like 7 years ago, I would say. So then it was like a very slow transition from, like I said, I did lots of web development, built lots of websites, lots of clients, and slowly just transitioned into that. So it wasn't really like, it wasn't like a destiny. It wasn't like something I knew it would always be. If I ask myself and be honest, it's just another creative outlet. It's just another way of being creative and enjoying the process.
Where do you get kind of inspiration from, would you say?
I don't specifically go out and look for other people's, I'm DP, right? So I'm director of photography, and, I don't usually go and look at other director of photography's work because I don't want it to influence my own style too much. I think a lot of my inspiration comes from paintings. If I was to like my Instagram saved, it's just full of like paintings, old paintings, medieval paintings, classic paintings, Rembrandt paintings, all these sort of these beautiful, masterful painters. And you're looking at those, you can get as much inspiration as you need. And I like to just figure out the technical details myself. I think it's a strange way of thinking, but it's not that I don't look at the DP's work and appreciate it, but I'm never looking at it thinking, that's exactly how I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. I think everyone's process is quite different, isn't it? And I think something we talk quite a lot about here is that idea of getting inspiration from, not just from one source. Not, the obvious things for us are to watch TV shows, watch films, watch, YouTube tutorials. And we absolutely do that, all of that, and learn a lot from that. But like you say, for me, that art's definitely a big one, music, nature. And it's one of those things where you easily feel like you're being a little bit pretentious or whatever, because it just sounds a bit sort of airy-fairy, whatever. But totally for me, things like just you get to a spot where you can you have this vast sky and you see these crazy sort of, cloud formations and whatever. There's something about that just really sparks something in me.
But to be fair, you've kind of like clicked a few things though, which is quite nice. I think I always say that I think we've all got programs working in the background that are constantly absorbing anyway. So while I would say I don't go out my way to look for the inspiration so much, sometimes there's always kind of absorption going on that your brain will pull a bit out. Oh, there's that thing there, and maybe if you remember that part there, we could put that together. And I really love about the sky. Like one of my favorite places is to be like top of a mountain, and I always feel the most peaceful and stress free when I see a vast space. And that's when I think my brain can do the most thinking as well, because it just feels like freedom. Like I can put all of that thought and stresses or whatever of the day just into the distance, and it can really just look at the sky, look at the skyline, and really enjoy that. So I resonate with that a lot. Actually, that's a really nice one.
If you get stuck creatively, I think almost surely every person who does a creative job or that's part of their work does get stuck. What do you do?
Okay, yeah. So there's a couple of things I would say here. One is, too many people do this. Like, don't take your phone to the bathroom with you. Most of us sit and look at screens all day, and we're like bombarding our brain with imagery, and we're not really giving our brains think best when they're left alone, to be bored, to do nothing. And so, most people take their phone to the toilet, and what you're doing, you're bombarding your brain with the screen again. You're not really giving yourself a chance to think. So whenever I feel stuck, I go for a walk, or I just go sit somewhere, go to the toilet. I've had my best ideas in the shower or the toilet. Most people have. It just comes to you because it gives your brain the freedom.
I think what you said about being bored is so important. That's something I've always had a real thing about. That I've got kids, and for me, it's been really important to allow them to get bored. Unusually, we didn't have a TV when I was growing up. And so, the thing I said in terms of making my own little worlds, a lot of that was because I had to make my own entertainment. It wasn't just there for me. And, obviously, there were other things that I did, but I think there was so much value in that. And I think you're totally right. We're in a kind of society now where being bored it's very, very easy to never be bored because there's always something that can occupy you.
Totally.
Whereas actually, I think it does unlock something creatively.
For the Industrial Revolution, we basically said to people, you do your work, and that's working on a farm or wherever it is and everything else, and use your brain and use your body. Then we had the point where we got to the Industrial Revolution and we said to people, okay, don't use your mind anymore. Just stand at the factory line, put box in box, put thing in thing, and just do that all day. So suddenly our minds were getting full and they just weren't getting expressed. Then we get to like 60s, 70s, 80s, and suddenly we're getting technology. And now we say to people, okay, sit at the desk, use your brain all day, be creative, but don't move your body anymore. So then there's this big mismatch we've got in society of like people are like expected to be working really hard constantly all the time, but creativity just does not work that way. It needs, as you just said, it needs time to be bored. You need time to have space in between the like focused work for the ideas and the neurons to connect and fire so you can formulate the ideas that come out of there.
I think the interesting thought that sort of triggered for me is that I think there is often a bit of a sort of creativity and technology are often seen as being almost in conflict with each other. And obviously there are lots of ways in which the two come together. And for you and where where you've put the emphasis in your business, particularly I think over the last couple of years, that's been very much about kind of bringing those two together. Yeah. So I'm just really interested to see where that's come from and how you sort of make sense of that.
And so I think the first thing is understanding technology. The second thing is harnessing it. So first it's thinking technology is not something that is taking over what you're doing. Technology should be a tool that's in your toolbox. Technology is something that aids you in what you're doing. So whenever my full-time job right now in terms of running Tungsten Media is also keeping on top of technology because it moves at such a rapid pace. And so my job is all the time is thinking, how does this aid us as a team? How does this allow us to be more agile? So it's my mindset about thinking about technology as not something that is taking away from me. It's something that's supplementing us and empowering us as a team to be more creative. There are so many ways I can use technology now to iterate on story ideas or to just speed up the process of doing mundane things so I can be more bored and think about more ideas. It's an assistant. It's a tool. When photography came and digital photography came, people screamed and shouted because they thought, oh my God, they're going to take all of our film cameras away and we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to ruin it. But, while that is mostly true now for film, at least, another great example is CG. When that came along, same thing. All people was like, oh my God, it's going to take over real life footage and it's going to be crap or whatever. And we're not going to have any jobbers anymore for it. But it's just become another tool in the box that people use. I mean, we use it in films. I think if we're going to say the word AI, because that's what's going to happen, is it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a tool in the box that we use to supplement and empower our creative ideas rather than just like the last thing we will do as a company is allow an AI to just give us ideas. It will like one of our policies in the company is that we use AI as an assistant, as a tool that it's not there to give us answers. It's there that I can talk to it. And it's an assistant that works 1,000 times more than faster than any human could. The last thing I want to do is rely on it to give you ideas because everything needs a soul. I think that if we create AI movies and things, most people won't want to watch it because if they know it's not made by a human, it won't have a soul.
Do you think we'll be able to tell? Like you say, an example of like an AI made movie, if we know that it is, then we'll have a certain reaction to it. Do you think it'll get to the point where we just can't tell, or will we instinctively know the difference, do you think?
I just said about like things not having a soul. I think it's the knowing that's the thing. I think we will be at a point, and sometimes in small doses, we are at the point where you don't know if something's AI or not. The point we're at is stills can do amazingly well and short snippets of video that maybe sandwich in between real video, just like CG, especially when it first started, or even CG shots. It's mostly real, but then you have a lot of CG in there. You believe it. Or watch a Marvel movie, right? Some of the top blockbuster Marvel movies, you watch them and they're all totally CG, but they're so realistic that you believe that it's there.
Yeah. I think my feeling, maybe my hope, is that AI will be able to do great things that will be entertaining, but what it can't do is sort of be inspired. AI could make a brilliant Marvel movie, but AI couldn't make Everything Everywhere All at Once. Which is a movie that you watch and you're like, where on earth did that come from? Yeah. Why does that work? Like what? But it's brilliant. I just have this, and maybe it's more of a hope that there's something in there. There's a certain level of inspiration that AI won't ever be able to replicate, because it's always, everything it's doing is based on, what it's seeing and what it's like.
I agree, actually. And they wouldn't be able to make Everything Everywhere All at Once. And the reason is probably because AI is only trained on the things it knows. And what is the majority of movies and Marvel movies? It's very formulaic. It's very simple, very basic. So without assistance, it's never going to create something that is not formulaic. With tweaking or with somebody there to help it, of course, you could get something like that. But
as a tool. Yeah,
exactly. It always comes back to that. As a tool that would help to use it. It would, but I agree. I think it'd be a long, long time before it can get to a point where it does that.
What excites you about the kind of virtual production, that whole area that you've really invested in?
I just think it's just so fun that we can take people to different places in the comfort of a studio. I see it so many times, and it's just such a great thing to see. Is like you see people's eyes widen. We've had it with so many directors that never shot VP. Sometimes they're a little bit defensive, or sometimes they're a little bit like, I'm not sure. And then, we work with them and we end up doing a shoot. And by the end, they're all like, my God, VP, that's cool, all right? That's so much fun. But one of the other things I love about it is it opens up creative flexibility again. Our job at Tungsten Media, and I think most creative jobs is, especially if a client comes to you, is to give them as much creative flexibility to remove the ceiling of ideas so we can create the best work we can and come up with more interesting ideas. And that's exactly what VP is for us. It's another tool that allows us to be more flexible in what we give to a client. And it's amazing for watching movies on.
Oh yeah.
Incredible.
Never thought about that.
Oh yeah, all the time.
What's a sort of extreme example almost of what you could achieve that people would blow people's minds?
The best part about VP is it can take you places you just can't go. Or you'd have to green screen or blue screen or whatever in between. So we wanted to do a shoot for a van company, and he wanted to be in different parts of the world, but couldn't afford to obviously go all those places. So VP screen, we were talking about, it's like, I'd like to be in Ireland and Scotland and maybe like on a road in New Zealand, or, just like mid shots of the window and stuff. You can feel it. And I was like, what if we did that? And we cut and then we're on the moon, just slowly turning and that sort of stuff. And I don't know, those sort of moments, you see people's eyes like, oh my God, yeah, like we could make it look like we're in space. It's all in camera.
I love the fun, that was one of the first words you use, is how much fun it is. Yeah. And I think that's one of the great things about our area of work. And it's what I feel like is one of the biggest privileges, is to have a job that you can just really be having fun doing it. Like I can totally see how you could just really be there and it just get a real buzz, just like, oh man, look at this thing we're doing. That's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's just great. It's like connectiveness and fun with people, and it brings everyone together. And at the end of the day, when you're on a shoot like that, that's what you want, a crew that works well, and little things like that make that stuff happen. So I think that's just as important. Yeah.
Do you feel for yourself like you're part of a kind of creative scene in Leeds, would you say?
No.
No. Yeah.
And the reason is I'm very, again, without trying to sound pretentious, very kind of closed off like that. This is why my business partner, Simon, we work together so well, because he's got such an explosive energy. He's like, fast, think, go. And so when we needed to do those sort of things, he'd be ringing people and doing all this. But I'm very methodical and slow, and I'll really absorb knowledge and think about it. So is Tungsten a part of the creative scene? I'd say, yeah. And I would actually go be as bold as say we're helping build it now.
I'm similar to you, I think, in that I'm not great at sort of putting myself out there and sort of getting around. I think over the years I've made quite a lot of, contacts just through working with people and sort of meeting people. I'm not great at just going out and sort of networking.
It makes you think about, like you said, you struggle to put yourself out there, but maybe you feel the same as me, that when you do put yourself out there, you go, oh, this is quite nice. This is quite good, actually. Like, meeting new people is actually pretty good. And like hearing other people's stories, and somebody maybe is like way up here past you or way down here, and they're asking you questions, and you're sharing ideas. And so, yeah, that's really nice.
Is there somebody that you would say, either through the course of your career or now, or someone that you look at that you'd say kind of most inspires you?
It's my favorite book series. It's a fantasy series. It's called The Sword of Truth. And it started coming out the year I was born, like 1992. And it was going all the way up until 2024. And the author passed away. But the main character is a person called Richard, like Richard Roll. And I remember throughout every book, we're talking like 15 books, big books, but every book, this guy just had this level of integrity, this level of freedom. And I just felt when I was, like a mid-teenager, and I started to read this stuff, I just thought, wow, I want to be like this guy. Like, I want to have integrity. I want to have value. I want to work for freedom. I want to work to be free. I want everyone to be free.
I like that. Yeah, that's great. I've got a few quick fire Leeds related questions for you.
Okay.
Don't overthink it. Just whatever comes into your head. What is your favourite hidden gem in Leeds?
Smokestack. You heard of Smokestack?
Yeah. On Lower Briggate.
Yeah, man, beautiful place, great place, good time. Like, I would say, maybe it's not hidden, but I would say if someone's asked me like, where would you go in Leeds? What was the place? I'd say Smokestack. That's pretty nice.
Nice. If Leeds was a flavour of ice cream, what would it be?
Oh, something like peanut butter and chocolate chip, maybe.
Oh, good.
I don't know why. Like, whenever I think of Leeds, there's always this like reddish, brownish color, in a good way. But like, then that just makes me think of ice cream, peanut butter, chocolate ice cream.
Great. Very good. If you had to describe Leeds in 3 words, what would they be?
Multicultural, bigger than it seems. Oh, damn.
That's one word.
Damn.
There's one very long word.
Yeah, bigger than it seems.
Bigger than it seems. Yeah, just say it fast.
Yeah. And expressive.
Where do you go in Leeds to feel inspired?
To the depot climbing. I climb a lot boulder. It's problem solving. It's therapy for the mind because you're thinking and problem solving. And it's therapy for the body because you're moving your body and you don't even realize it. You're exercising. So it's like the Holy Trinity, mind, body, soul.
Brilliant. Very good. Is there a Leeds creative that you think people should know about?
One of my good friends, Matt and Poonam, Kiss Brandon. You know Kiss Brandon?
No.
Branding company. And I just always admired those guys. I thought that they were very hardworking and they always had great ideas and just generally nice people to be around.
Very good. Excellent.